Welcome to Unveiled Radiance, podcast to help you strip away fear of aging. Hello, I'm Dr. Natalia, licensed naturopathic physician, aesthetic expert injector, and owner of Bloom Skincare. In each episode, we will discuss everything about skincare, strip away confusion about aesthetic medicine, and help you deeply understand what happens in your body as you start aging. We will invite expert opinion and, of course, science-backed information to help you deeply understand you. This podcast is part of an educational platform called Unveiled You, which I designed for women just like you to help you understand everything, not just about your skin, which is your largest body's organ, but everything that's happened to your body from puberty all the way through past menopause, and enjoy and embrace every stage of that beautiful life. Let's get started. I am Natalia Borokovsky, and welcome to Unveiled Radiance. Hello, Unveil You Radiance listeners. We are so happy to record this first episode with our first ever guest, Dr. Lilia Feria, my dear friend, also my own doctor, and actually my attending physician when I was still in medical school. So this brilliant woman has been practicing for many years, longer than I even have, and I look up to her as an expert in female health, and I trust my own female health to her beautiful mind. So here she is, Dr. Lilia Feria. Tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been practicing naturopathic medicine, why you chose naturopathic medicine and female health.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, what an honor, Dr. Natalia. Oh my gosh, so many accolades, not deserving, but I'll do my best. So I have a practice here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where my focus is a lot of hormones, especially female hormones. And so I kind of just passionate about the aging process, menopause, perimenopause. And usually my way of doing it is just kind of easing women's minds. And we live in a society where, any woman over the age of 30 after having children is no longer worth, and we cannot age. And so I try to minimize that pressure and making sure that they accept, love, and cherish their aging process without having a negative connotation. So that's kind of my background. I've been practicing for many years. We won't get into the exact numbers because, it's too long, but here we are. And it's been a pleasure and an honor having you as a student and now as a colleague. So it means a lot.
That is so wonderful. And yes, we're not going to talk about years because obviously, as women, we are ageless, we are timeless. We don't have to put the age stamp on anything. But again, important is to teach all of our followers and our beautiful audience there is a beauty in every stage. So let's talk about it. Tell us, what do you tell your typical new patient? She walks into your clinic. What do you want to teach her?
So I kind of want to teach her how her hormones are changing. So especially if we're in the first perimenopausal stage or then the menopausal stage, what's actually happening from the inside out. I get a lot of questions or a lot of concerns saying, Dr. Feria, I'm eating so well, I'm exercising, I'm hydrating, I'm taking care of myself, but I don't see any of the benefits. And, as women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for perfection, for not doing enough. But like I try to explain them, there's some things in our body that no matter what you do, you're just not going to achieve the benefits because it's those hormones that drive our optimization of our bodies. So I kind of explain to them how all of these hormones play together, how they're all important, and why they're feeling. So it's not just in their head, especially a lot of mental, emotional issues. They'll see it more kind of like on their skin, on their body. And it's, goes beyond aging. They just don't really recognize themselves. So patient education is key when it comes to the hormonal changes as we do age in life, which is very important. Patients have to be in control of their own health. I'm here to guide them and educate them on how all that works.
Yes, that's brilliant. So tell us a little bit more of a nitty gritty, how hormones influence female skin, what signs we should look for.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the biggest player of that is estrogen, even though, if we're just talking about very basic female hormones, there's estrogen and progesterone, which impact a woman's cycle, which when we're actually cycling, when we're able to conceive. And then the other one is testosterone, which is not really talked about much. It's kind of very at the forefront of women's health. But what most women don't understand is that testosterone is actually the most abundant hormone that a woman has over her lifetime. It peaks during ovulation, it's sky high during pregnancy. So that's a hormone that we consistently need. But the biggest one when it comes to skincare is going to be definitely estrogen. A lot of women notice very dull skin. It's lacking radiance. They're using top products. It's called crepiness, but they almost describe their skin as like lizard like, alligator like, very, very wrinkly. There's not that fullness that the younger skin had. And there's also dryness in the mouth, in the eyes, and in the vaginal tract, which are all part of lacking estrogen, which drives all of those very, very important skin conditions.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So assume that I am postmenopausal woman and I'm considering to do hormone replacement therapy because I hear from brilliant doctors like you, estrogen is important. I want to preserve my skin density, so I want less wrinkles. I want that radiance. But I'm also afraid. Like I am so scared of starting hormone replacement therapy because I hear these crazy stories that somebody got cancer, somebody had other complications. So what would you tell those patients?
So definitely taking past medical history is so important. So let's get out that in the open that hormones does not cause cancer. That's kind of already like in our genetic makeup. It's already in our bodies. Plus, everybody has cancerous cells in our bodies every single day. Our immune system kind of cleans that up. Of course, there are other cancers that are very much driven by environment and genetics, one of them being breast cancer. So when we're talking about estrogen, it gets very tricky with the whole estrogen picture because breast cancer actually spikes right after those menopausal years. So with estrogen, it gives you a protection for cancer. We need it. But when that goes away, women's rates of breast cancer go sky high. So the most important question is one, do you or your family have a history of breast cancer? Have you been treated for it? Have you been tested for the BRCA gene, which is not necessarily, always necessary? When was your last mammogram? What is your breast health like? Are they dense? Have you had fibroids, cysts in your ovaries or uterus? How heavy have your periods been? Were they painful? Are you still getting large clots in your period when you were a menstruating woman? So all of that gives me an indication if you are a candidate for estrogen or not. But having bioidentical estrogen, which is very different than exogenous or non bioidentical. Bioidentical means that's the exact organic molecule that your body makes and recognizes. So, after kind of that past medical history and you're a candidate for estrogen, I highly recommend it because of all the benefits of the skin, 100%.
Yes, that's wonderful. And also, it's important to kind of mention the estrogen is not just one molecule, right? There is essentially three identified estrogens in the female body, and we kind of need
Yes,
to
they
get a
are.
balance between those three. And also, again, everything is in the balance. We typically don't prescribe our estrogen by itself. We include other hormones like progesterone, for example, to offset and balance the estrogen, right? So I wanted to
100%.
ask you a question about testosterone. It's kind of like another thing, that big taboo for women. Oh my goodness, you're
Yeah.
going to take testosterone, you're going to grow a beard, you're going to have acne, you're going to turn into a man. And I would admit to our audience, I've actually been getting testosterone pellets for, I want to say, what, 5 years now, right, Dr. Lilia? Yes.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us, what does testosterone do to aging female body?
Yeah, testosterone is not going to make you grow like male genitalia. That's the first thing. You will not turn into a man. You will not grow a giant beard. Those are a lot of misconceptions. It's also when testosterone is not dosed correctly. That's where you have to go to a very responsible provider. Make sure that they're doing follow up labs, that they're giving you top quality testosterone. So with the female body, as we go through that aging process, weight gain is like the number one thing that women are concerned about because they're doing the weightlifting, they're going to the gym, they're eating right amounts of protein. But when testosterone is lacking, no matter how much you spend at the gym, you just don't have enough of that hormonal fuel to make muscle. So that's where testosterone is key. That women always notice that their weight starts getting in that belly, abdominal area, like that muffin top. When we are actually fertile women and we're able to have children, a lot of our fat is around the hip area because that protects the uterus and the ovaries. And so once we get into menopause, it shifts upwards in that area. Also, testosterone is huge for anxiety, depression, libido, mental health over and over. It makes such a difference. So even if you're not going through the actual menopause, I have a lot of women, even in their early 30s and their 40s and their 50s, just on testosterone therapy, and it has made a huge difference, especially fatigue. Fatigue is something I also hear a lot about. They're constantly tired. They sleep well, but by 2 or 3 p.m., they're consistently crashing. So testosterone is such a game player to kind of just revitalize your life. I've also been on it for 5+ years, and it has made such a huge difference, especially, after heavy years of medical school, then motherhood, then a career. That is one hormone that gets depleted very, very, very quickly. And the ranges, I always teach my patients about like what a healthy range is, depending on what form of testosterone you're taking. Meaning, is it a cream? Is it a troche? Is it pellets? Is it injections? Because all of that makes a difference how your body absorbs it. But that's like my number one hormone that is at the forefront of my women's health, more so than estrogen and progesterone.
Yes, yes, absolutely agree. And also, I think another good point to say there are no perfect cookie cutter recipe that applies to every woman. And to some woman, maybe palette will be a better option, something like, for example, I have been doing. And for another woman, that might be completely out of question. There's a different methods of deliveries that we can discuss, and everyone has its benefits and potential side effects too, which should be always considered, right? And that's why it's so important to be in the hands of educated provider, the doctor that essentially has the knowledge but also cares. So tell me a little bit, why did you decide to focus on female health? How is it close to your heart?
So I think I've always been passionate about like my own health. That's why I kind of chose the career I did. And I just kind of felt that there was a huge stigma, not only in the media about women, women's beauty, women's health. We were completely lacking it in the medical community. If you go back many, many years, most of the research has always been done on men, men's health, men's labs. Like I said, there is research, with women up until about the 30s, that age bearing age. But after that, we kind of fall off the radar. And I kind of got very passionate about hearing women consistently going back to their primary care providers or their OB, telling them that they're going through menopause, that they're feeling this way, that way. And the most common answer that they got, it's like, well, one, you're old and it's menopause. We can't do anything about it. And that like enrages me because that's not proper care of our women, because we're still vital members of society. Menopause does not mean that we are now going to get flannel pajamas and get put into a coffin. We are not dead. For a lot of women, life really starts after 40 or 50 because they're no longer, caring for children. It's time for them to kind of focus on themselves. And so being dismissed as your symptoms are one in your head, or they get put on antidepressants and anxiolytics, anxiety medication, is not the right fit. We have hormones that have been depleted. We have an environmental impact where we don't make enough of these hormones anymore. And so that's what drove me to actually get education, constant education, changes day to day, fight for research, have reputable products here that I know are going to actually enhance my patient's health. So, and also saw with colleagues, my mom going through this, there were no options for women. And I want to make sure that I had options for the women coming into my practice.
Yeah, this is so wonderful. And this is kind of like a goal of this podcast and the Unveiled You community. We want to provide supportive community for women, and not necessarily just for women going through menopause, because let's guess, the truth is women experiences so many different hormone storms in her life, starting from puberty, then childbearing ages, pregnancy, postpartum. All those events, they are traumatic to our bodies. At the same time, they're a beautiful part of our bodies. So helping us to support each other and to really have that sense of community that millions of women across the world suffering, or we'll say enjoying, transitioning to different stages of their life. And all of that is normal. And it doesn't mean, like Dr. Lilia said, it's not end of the world and your life is not over because you are going through menopause. And same
Yeah.
thing with puberty. If you go through puberty, you not necessarily have to have pimples. There, every stage you can still be radiant, vibrant, healthy, and this is our job to educate you to do so. So one more thing I wanted to talk about it now, you do some aesthetic medicine in your practice as well. Do you educate your aesthetic patients, the one that say a woman walks into your practice and says, I want some Botox or Dysport? Do you have a little bit of that holistic pitch that you're trying to educate her on?
Yeah, 100%. So I usually don't start with any outside beauty. So it all starts from the inside out. So, no matter how much Botox or filler or crazy lasers we throw at them, if their hormones are off balance, they're not going to be getting the benefits of it. And these are not, cheap treatments. So I'm very, very transparent and very honest. If we're not taking care of our inside, it's not going to reflect on the outside, no matter how expensive that product is. So when someone is on my chair getting aesthetics done, I do a quick medical history. It's like, how old are you when, you're going through perimenopause? Are you having hormonal issues? Are you currently on bioidentical hormone replacement? What is your menopause journey like before I put anything into the face? So I got to make sure that whatever is happening, whatever they want to reflect outside in their body, the inside of their body is actually getting the right balance and the right nourishment. Because as you know, you do a lot of skincare esthetician. No matter how many facials you'll get, if you're not really, say, attacking the actual reasons or that somebody has acne, they can be in your office every single day getting treatments and it's not going to make a difference. So
Yes.
I'm all about, honesty, transparency, doing my aesthetics in a very ethical manner, and then treating the person inside out, body, soul, mind, all the things. So they're just as important because we are very complex creatures and all of that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yes, this is brilliant. And specifically pretending to acne, if you're just doing topical treatments, all you're doing, you're addressing existing lesions. You're not preventing new ones. So that way you're constantly swimming upstream. So that's why acne often it becomes sort of impossible disease to ever occur. And then so many women suffer with acne even way past puberty and continue having breakouts. And sometimes acne even worsens as woman transitions to a different stages of her life. So let me ask you this question. It's kind of very curious question. Sometimes I ask myself what the most common cause for hormonal imbalances. Because ultimately, our body is so smart. Our body wants to be in homeostasis, in a balance. So, what do we do to ourselves, to our lifestyles that throw us outside of that balance?
Yeah, so it's kind of like nature protecting. So if we're talking about women's hormones, it's kind of like nature protecting ourselves. Nature decided like at the age around 50, you don't need to be taking care of children anymore. Let's stop your reproductive system. So what usually happens is the signal from your brain to a woman's ovaries and uterus. The brain says no more. Let's shut off some of that estrogen, some of that progesterone. We get a little bit of testosterone, but our bodies are telling us no more. You will find a new balance. And, when our mothers or grandmothers or great grandmothers went through menopause, food quality was so much different. Lifestyle was so much different. The food, the air, everything was so different, meaning cleaner, that we don't see the impacts of quote unquote menopause because of how much healthier our bodies were. So all of those environmental pollutants have taxed our body's ability to transition into menopause, and ability where hormones kind of deplete slowly over time. It's more like putting the brake on a car and it just jolts you right into menopause. And then, especially if women have had hysterectomies, their ovaries removed, what they don't know, it's even if they've had that in their early 30s or mid 40s, that actually can put you into menopause 5 to 10 years earlier if you're not getting hormone replacement properly. Kind of understanding the whole complexities of the world that we live on is understanding of why it's so much needed to be on some sort of hormone replacement to nourish your body completely.
Yes, that's a wonderful. And ultimately, we just need to remind women everything you surround yourself with, either it's information and stress that you consume has effect on your body. Lack of sleep will have effect on your body. The food you eat, absolutely. The environment you live in, the stressful environment at your home, your work, all that plays role into how your hormones behave, and ultimately it reflects on how you look. You can use the best possible skincare products. You can use Botox, lasers, and like Dr. Lilia said, those treatments are very, very expensive and not necessarily get the best results because you're not taking care of you, inside of you, and includes everything: your mind, your soul, your body. All of that is inseparable. And skin is just a window of opportunity, basically giving you a little nudge, telling you, hey, you should pause. You should kind of reflect, slow down, and take care of yourself. So I think it's been fantastic conversation. Dr. Lilia Feria, tell us again how patients can find you, the women who are living in Arizona and Phoenix and Scottsdale metro area, how they can schedule an appointment and get the help that they need.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity. It's been amazing. Obviously, I'm very passionate about the topic. We can talk days and days about this. My practice is located in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I have a website. It's called ferialuxmed.com, or they can just call my office line at 480-645-9018. Text or leave a voicemail, and then I'll get back to them as soon as I can. So that's the best way. There's a little bit of social media, but I don't dabble in it too much. Pretty focused on patient care. But just don't DM me on social media. You can just take a look at some things that I have. But yeah, that's the best way. So thanks again for the opportunity. It's been amazing.
That's wonderful. And we are so honored and happy to have Dr. Lilia Feria on our very first episode of Unveiled Radiance. And we did talk today a little bit about hormones. And if you are interested to dive deeper into this topic, then check out our platform, unveilyou.life, where we're going to delve deeper into our hormones and the overall human female body, what happens to you as you go through different stages of life. And of course, we will put the contact information for Dr. Lilia Feria. So please reach out, follow us on social media. As for me, Dr. Natalia and Unveiled You, yes, we are very active on social media. So follow us, reach out with any comments, and we are so happy you joined us today. Thank you for joining me on Unveiled Radiance. If this episode resonates with you, please share with someone you love, with another woman who might need to hear this information. And for full experience, head to unveilyou.life, where we share everything about skin, hormones, and even self-confidence. Until the next time, thank you for joining me, and please take care of yourself from inside and out.